Thank you, Jim. I think it's ironic that it is the mother who bears the child and gives birth to the child and takes care of the diapers, the cuts and the bruises, and the schools and the schedules, and the playmates, and the tears that the kids go through as they grow up. And then when it comes time for something important, they ask the father to give the toast. I will toast 4 parts of Michael's life very quickly. When he was a little boy, I remember we had a thing called Jean-Pierre Lafitte, the famous French pirate. And he loved me to tell him stories when I would get home, get off the train at night, and be absolutely exhausted. And as he was going to sleep, he had to hear a new story about Jean-Pierre Lafitte, the famous French pirate. I would rack my brains on the train each night trying to figure a new chapter in this story. Well, as time went along, we're in high school now, and Michael is not a terribly emotive person. He's got a nice personality, and he was screaming mad about a teacher he had in high school. And since I had taught in high school, I just poo-pooed it and said, no, take it easy. You'll get through. But he was really, really angry, and he wanted to get out of this mess. So I went over to see another teacher in the school, and he said, well, it's unusual to have an MIT PhD in physics teaching secondary school physics. Nothing wrong with your son. That was Andy France, Michael. But before I could get to my poo-poo, I drove home from the railroad station, and there in the middle of the driveway was a plastic carton full of Michael's high school books, ablaze, burning a 2-inch hole in our asphalt driveway. Well, hearing what his teacher said, I thought, well, maybe I'm just going to say, let's get the asphalt fixed. So we did that. Then it was the beginning of a feeling of independence between Michael and his parents. Then I remember very, very clearly, Susan and I were with him on the day he graduated from Bates College, and you think, well, now your kid can make up for the tuition you spent and go get a job. And he said that day with Marco beside him, Dad, do you think it would be all right if I took off a couple years to try out for the Olympics? Well, they didn't even have a rowing varsity team where he went to school. It was a club. But I said, sure. And as time went along, some of these tall, handsome men you see around here, and Michael formed the basis of the American rowing team in Sydney in 2000. And the last story is one day a few years ago, he walked in with this absolutely exquisitely beautiful young lady on his arm, and we were just thrown over with her beauty and her attractiveness, and he subsequently said, I think we're going to get married. And those 4 high points have led me to say to Michael, in the language of his grandparents on his mother's side, one of the most beautiful toasts that a human being can give another. L'chaim.
L'chaim.